20 crore Indian Muslim consumers are big contributors to the growth story of private corporations of the country. Some top corporate houses such as Tata Trust and Tech Mahindra Foundation have taken initiatives to improve their social condition. There's a huge potential of tapping support of private corporations which have been forthcoming in their corporate social responsibilities. Today, we will discuss how we can make the best of it. Welcome to The Matrix. I have with me in the studios Amir Abidi, a young Indian who's engaged in social work for the underprivileged communities. He was educated in London. He has many facets. After returning to India, he's been working closely with the corporates for the social sector. Welcome to the show. Welcome, Amir, and Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam tabaka.
My first question to you would be, please tell our viewers about yourself and the kind of work you've been doing in recent past.
Right. Thank you for the opportunity. So to begin with, my transition to education happened while I was studying in London. I went there to do my master's in management and marketing. And my childhood and school education has happened in Aligarh. My late father was a professor at AMU and then later in Delhi, college in Delhi, and I traveled very extensively. And I've lived in a very multicultural environment, friends from all community, laughing, doing all the silly things that we do in the youth. And also privileged to have good education. And also, the dichotomy in our country, where on one hand we have great schools and colleges, the IIMs, the IITs, and but 70% of our children and youth who are in education, the quality is a huge issue, and that is something which used to bother me because my late mother was from a place called Tonk in Rajasthan. So we used to go there every summer holidays, and I would see my cousins going to government schools, and the education I was getting and they were getting was very different, and that used to bother me even then. So basically, one thing which sort of pushed me, or the turning point, was 9/11 that we all know happened in America, and an event which shook the whole world and any and every thinking person. And London being such a cosmopolitan city with a lot of young people, so when things like that happen, there is polarization in the society.
You were at you're studying at the London College of Fashion, is it?
Yes,
at that point of time.
At that point of time, because
right.
While I was in Delhi, I was dabbling in fashion and worked with some designers in Delhi and Bombay.
Right.
So I went to London College of Fashion and I was doing my masters there. But this event which shook everyone, and for me it was a turning point. And some of my friends, and we thought, like, what can we do? So I was a little bit into football and sports. So we thought, like let's engage youth from different communities. Let's come and play together.
Right.
And so that work with youth, both Muslim and non-Muslim youth, was my initiation as a volunteer into youth counseling. And then I started to teach voluntarily in a school, and this happened for about a year, and I was enjoying that a lot. So somewhere then I took a decision of transitioning to education. I started to teach full time. I was there for about 6 years. And then when I came back to India, my vision and mission was clear that I will be working in education. But knowing the sector is very important. So I did education leadership program with iDiscover I. Some wonderful people who have done their education from Harvard School of Education and Cambridge and all, and cutting edge educational research. Now we experiential education is everyone is talking about it, project based learning. So this was 16 years back when we were doing it, and right. But then the dichotomy which I mentioned, that good education, we have phenomenal schools, and we know project based learning, experiential learning, and all these things, and how they impact life skills and the whole. But then 70% of our students, whether in the government schools or low-cost private schools, they are still, doing the similar things which happens. So as an organization, which when we started Tarakhi Foundation in December 2012, our mandate is to strengthen quality education, skill development, employment, and entrepreneurship for the less privileged. Okay. Because I mean, the IITs, IIMs, and the DPSs, Sanskritis can take care of themselves. But I think where we thought we would like to focus was on the low-cost schools and what government schools and
right.
So
I'll come to Tarakhi Foundation, but tell me that it's been quite a journey, Amir. Quite a transition from studying, doing a master's from London College of Fashion. And as far as I know, that you've worked with top fashion names in the fashion industry, Abu Jani, Sandeep, and thereafter making a transition into social work, education sector has been quite a swing, quite a transition. How do you explain this?
Yes, a question which a lot of friends who know me ask me. I think creativity and passion is something which is cross-cutting. And I had the privilege of working with some people. You mentioned the names, and because fashion, like any other industry, there are all kind of players. I have great respect for innovation, authentic creativity, which I learnt with working with Abu and Sandeep in Bombay, and also. Somewhere while I was obviously the glamour and everyone knows Bombay and all the things that go, the parties and everything, because it was a very close knit team at that time, but internally I was not very happy. And this is something which as adults we realize we go through different stages,
right?
And somewhere I used to go to the slums where the karkhanas were, and because couture is a labor intensive work,
right?
So the condition of the workers, and there were certain things which used to sort of bother me,
right?
So somewhere on hindsight, while I was doing what I was doing, and then while I was in London, I was also thinking, and one thing which is sort of, because Alhamdulillah, I was born in a Muslim family, but like most Muslims, especially of Indian subcontinent that I know, or for that matter in any other community, we really know very little about what the spiritual side of it,
Right.
So I was obviously not very so-called religious person. I don't consider myself a religious person also now, but yes, I believe spirituality,
right,
is something which is very cross-cutting, and again looking at that. So I had visited in our country, Kazakhstan, Almaty, and we know the socio-political history, the Soviet Union and everything. Now all these regions, they had some phenomenal madrasas, Samarkand, Bukharas, and Islamic culture and everything, but due to the policies of the communist regime in the Soviet Union and everything, all religions were banned, and the Muslims there, though all Kazakhs are Muslim, but hardly 5% knew the kalma. So the understanding of religion was nothing. Right. And I was also just praying Friday prayers, and I had really very little understanding of what my beliefs were and the rationale behind what people do.
Right.
So that sort of was also something which shook me, and I started reading translation of Quran, and I studied under the mentoring of some very learned scholars in England and in India, and understood the beauty of Islam and how of humanity, the universal appeal,
right.
and that is what has helped me, because most of my friends,
right.
From the time I was in the fashion business, they still are friends, and we communicate, and lastly I would say that education requires no less creativity than fashion does, because otherwise you could be doing, and that is the whole problem, when the ESSA reports comes and says that enrollment is there, but what are the learning outcomes,
right.
And that is what, as an educationist, we need to make our learning, teaching and learning creative and fun.
So in a nutshell, it was your calling, through the experiences you've had in your life, and you thought that social work is your, in fact, calling, where
Yes.
you should focus. Now tell us, Amir, that you've seen big corporate houses, and they have shown interest in helping Indian Muslim community in their upliftment, such
Right.
as Tata Trust,
Right.
which has been working with some NGOs in Eastern UP to improve the condition of madrasas.
Right.
So this is truly commendable.
Certainly.
So do you think these private corporates could help improve the conditions in Indian madrasas? Is it possible?
Certainly. And to begin with, where you started, like Tata is a brand which I think almost every Indian knows,
Right.
and the most I think recognized brand from India. And post independence, what Tatas have done for the nation, for whether it is Tata Institute of Social Sciences or TIFR and the Tata Trust, the multitudes of programs across the country that they have supported and funded. So it is a really welcome step, and I'm aware of the good work that they have been doing in Bengal and in UP. And to the next part of your question, that certainly corporates and as corporate social responsibility (CSR). So the term itself implies that these corporates, big companies who are making crores and of profits in crores, they need to, in an organized, committed way, contribute to the development of the society and the nation.
Right.
So we know that 2% is mandatory,
Yes.
and that organizations like Azim Premji Foundation, Tech Mahindra Foundation, Reliance are doing phenomenal work, and I think a lot more could be done if there is a good bridge. Lastly, when you mentioned madrasas, definitely we have worked with madrasas too, and there is a lot of ground where corporates can make a positive impact.
So you said that you worked with madrasas. So how have you helped them improve their system of education? What did you do actually?
Sure. See, to understand, first of all, it's very important that madrasas is not a homogeneous entity.
Right.
There is a huge diversity, and it's education. Madrasa is an Arabic word, for a school. So there are small, big, co-educational, residential, so all kinds of madrasas. Madrasas is not, so this is very important because I'm sure your program is being watched by people from all communities.
Absolutely.
Even in the Muslim communities, a lot of people, in urban areas, or people who are not directly connected with madrasas, don't understand this distinction.
Quite right.
Now, one thing is that there is a lot of, and we must also remember that in the socio-political history of our country, the first revolt of 1857, it was the madrasas of those times had a huge role to play in that freedom movement.
Right.
And Delhi, we are sitting and talking in Delhi, is
Right.
witness to thousands of ulamas, who were hanged by the Britishers of that time.
Right.
So in terms of nation building, madrasas have played a very important role. But then, like in the education, like in the context of the schools, where we have the Pratham, the Asar report, and we see the learning outcomes, 60-70% class 5 students, 50-60% can't even do basic multiplication and this thing. Similarly, in madrasas also, there is a lot of room of improvement in terms of curriculum, in terms of teaching learning materials, access to resources, teacher training. And they are, in our experience, we found them very receptive. I think it takes two hands to clap.
Right.
So what the corporates also need to understand, or whoever, it's a government agency or the corporates who want to sincerely want to enable the community or this thing, the approach has to be empathetic, with respect and contextual.
Right.
You can't force change.
Right.
Change will come from within, and there is a lot of churning. Most of the madrasas I know, 95, I would say more than 95 madrasas have general education. They teach English, science, mathematics, The problem is that they don't have good teachers, and the reason is that they have very less resources.
Do you think that these corporates can help in help get better teachers? Sort of maybe helping the school financially to pay their salaries maybe, but. This a related question is that you've been working with some top-notch corporate houses, and you've been working with Tech Mahindra Foundation on a project called Tarakki Smart Project. Please tell us about that project, and if you can reply to my question.
Sure. Before commenting on the work we are doing in Tarakki Smart Project, I just want to add to the previous point and say that if we are very sincere about enabling and strengthening madrasas, just because they are just like the schools, the pathshalas, the NIOs, they are an education delivery system, right? And we are at a stage where the world, the India globally is rising. The Vishwa Guru, and as you in the introduction said that 18% of our population. Though if we have to look at the empowerment of Muslim community, we need to focus more on access to education in schools and universities and all those other things.
Sure.
But specific about the madrasas, in terms of leadership, in terms of management, financial management of resources and these things are areas where NIOS is a great platform,
right.
And there are a lot of things which now if you are just third you have a certificate, you can give class 10th exam. So ensuring or helping such madrasas where the students could do the 10th, also science labs, tinkering labs, and these are all things, libraries. But lastly, I would end my point here that dumping 10 computers won't, you can get a good photo op. You give 5 computers instead of 10, but you also budget for a salary of a teacher.
Very important.
Or train the people there.
Yes.
So that is my take final on that.
Right.
Coming to the next part as
Tarakki,
to Tarakki Smart Center. Yes. We have this association with Tech Mahindra Foundation, it's our 6th year now. Tarakki Smart Center is working in Daryaganj, the Old Delhi area. And in the last 6 years, we have trained over almost 1,200 youth. And also got around 850, 900 youth employed, because not only do we do the training, but it's a part of our mandate that we have to ensure 75% plus employment, and we have very strong monitoring systems of doing that. The courses we have like 4 months to 6 months. We have a course called Customer Relationship and Sales, and another is Digital Marketing. Communicative English, computers, and what we call WPR, workplace readiness, because life skills, how to communicate, how to manage your emotions, working in
very
a team.
Important, yes.
And the approach is very hands-on, very activity-based, very interactive, because the youth, and we take students from 18 to 27, they should be at least class 12th pass. Most of the students are coming from low-income families, from Urdu or Hindi medium schools.
And they are across all religions. It's
all religions. By demographics, because Old Delhi, Shahjahanabad is predominantly Muslim area.
Right.
We have like 60 to 70% youth from Muslim community, but we have students coming from as far as Lakshmi Nagar, Mustafabad, Paharganj, and we consciously go, like we have on Saturdays a lot of guest lectures, workshops and activities, where our students like go to Gurudwara Seesganj for seva, or on Diwali they'll go to the slums and distribute mithai. So such things which will as a country as diverse as in this thing, because in the national life, we have to work with all communities. So in our spaces, in our learning spaces, we encourage that, and we have found it very effective.
Yes, and also Amir, you've been working, help various communities utilize the government minority scholarship schemes.
Right.
What have been your experiences in this?
This I would like, obviously, what our current policies are, and we know that the budgets have been reduced or in a way shifted.
Right.
And this is something which maybe would require another session because it's a very vast
Sure.
topic.
Yes.
But 2-3 submissions which I'll make here is, again, first and foremost, it's of intent, right? We are talking about women empowerment. Now we know that a lot of the schemes which have been now stopped, the impact that they have had on girls and women, those who were getting the scholarships, for their postgraduate studies, MPhil programs, and all that.
Right.
So that impact is there. But then to be pragmatic and to look at what is there and how to effectively implement it,
Right.
I would like to just focus on that. Therein, the process, because there are last mile challenges. Because the person for whom the scholarship fund is, he is illiterate, the father, mostly a first generation.
Yes.
And the documentation that are required, a lot of times those issues are there.
Right.
And wherein we have worked, and then there are like challenges, the portals sometimes are not working. We had our team members who would sit up at night because then at that time they would work on the servers. So that, and finally also for the community, we need to, and again there's a north-south divide where you see in Karnataka, in Kerala, in Maharashtra, the utilization is much more as compared to Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, Delhi. That we need more advocacy and we need follow-ups.
Right.
So that, but when, yes, the government, whatever the policies are there, there are the NGOs and corporates who can play a more effective role in the implementation of these scholarship schemes and delivery to the end user.
Right. So then we go back to a basic question: can private corporate support become a game changer in improving the condition of Indian Muslims and other communities?
Oh, certainly, and we see the evidence. I mean, you must have renewed your passport some years back. I got mine two years back,
right.
And getting a passport 10-15 years back was a huge challenge.
Right.
But today TCS is organizing that, and it's like a very smooth process.
Right.
So like with everything else, if the intent is clear,
right.
and if we have a participatory approach, if you are doing something for the madrasas or for the minorities, then you need to talk to them first, identify sincere good people from the community, take them together,
That's
work with
very
them.
important.
Very important. And wherever that is happening, you see phenomenal results, a great impact.
Right. So now I'll go back to your initial years, of your career, and when you working in the fashion industry. You still in touch? You were saying that you still communicate with your friends like Abu Jani, Sandeep, and others in the fashion industry. What do they tell you when they hear about or learn about the work you're doing? What do they have to tell you?
I'll just share a joke, like I have a beard now. At that time, I didn't have. So a friend, commented that. Yes, I said, look, the beard is in big fashion now. Every youth is sporting a beard.
Yes, quite true. And at times, it puzzles me. Why so? Everybody is going for a beard.
Right, and I'll share with you. I this was when I was working, I was selected for a senior position in. It was again a corporate, and the final interview, the person who was interviewing was a very senior ex-army person, and I mean there were rounds and I qualified for that position, and we entered, and the first thing he looks at me and he says that, Amir, why do you keep a beard, right? So I smiled and I said, I won't say the name, but I told him, he was a colonel, a retired colonel. I said, Colonel, would you have asked the same question to a Sikh? So he laughed. He said, well, okay, so tell me. I was like, we are here to talk about my role. Let's stick to that.
Right.
And but as I have mentioned that we in our work we also have a program called Tarif, which is Taraqi Arts India forum, where we are. My mother was from Tonk in Rajasthan,
Yes.
and the calligraphy and floral art, and also Char Baid, which is like
Yeah,
a
of
form.
course, very famous.
Yeah.
The Pathani Rag.
Yeah. So we have been promoting that both from the perspective of strengthening the arts and also encouraging youth, because like Char Baid was like extempore,
Yes.
and it could be like the content. It could be could talk about ecology or the current issues in the composition. And finally, also enabling, we have trained almost 700 women and girls. और उसमें हम कहते थे कि सिलाई कढ़ाई बहाना है, असल मकसद पढ़ाना है. तो वो एम्ब्रॉयडरीज और तमाम कैलीग्राफी खुशखती करके they getting good money, and now they are self-sufficient. Also, a lot of them have resumed their studies, and they are part of organizations. They are managing schools. So there is obviously great synergy, and I think we need to celebrate and take it forward.
Absolutely. Quite wonderful. Now, since you've been working with the private corporations for a long time,
Right.
what advice would you give to people on how to make a pitch for availing CSR benefits or other such benefits from the corporates
Yes.
who've shown an inclination to help?
Sure, very important. See, ours in a country, the statistics are that for every 400 Indians there is an NGO. Yeah, the maximum number of NGOs are found to be in India.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of them are on paper, and hardly 40% of the NGOs, the registered NGOs, the trust, have 12 or 80G. The certificate from the government,
Right.
which enables you, if you get a donation, the donor to get a tax exemption. Because to get that, you need to go through the scrutiny. Your financial management, has to be audited, and all those things are there.
Yes.
Very few have FCRA.
Right.
We got ours about
Yeah,
few
and some
months
of them
back.
were dubious, and they gave a bad name to these NGOs. They had to close down.
Absolutely. And I always say this, not all doctors are saints,
Right.
and not all lawyers are evil. So you have good and bad players in every sector.
So that's true,
and
quite
so
right.
is it in schools, and so is it in madrasas or NGOs.
Yes, quite
so so coming to your question, financial management, organizational management, managing resources are areas which have to be looked. And I always encourage, and we have forums where we are encouraging upcoming NGOs and people who are serious and sincere, even madrasas. And you have some fantastic young alims who are doing phenomenal work. They are doing robotics, IT, AI. Sometimes you'll go and you won't see that in most of the schools. So we need to celebrate, and congratulations to your channel and to the work that you're doing, that you are bringing these good case studies to your viewers across the country.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Amir, you've been doing superb work, and you've been working with the communities, underprivileged people who need help, and you have discovered this as your calling. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
In your future endeavors, and do keep coming to our studios for discussions. Thank you very much for coming to
My
our
pleasure.
studios.
Thank you.
Efforts of people like Amir Abidi can bridge the gap between the community and private corporations. The condition of Indian Muslims has been deteriorating due to illiteracy, poor education, poverty, and unemployment. A little hand-holding by the private corporate could go a long way in improving their condition, provided the community approaches them in a proper manner. That's all we have this week. We'll be back with another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye from the Matrix team.